You know, some people enjoy composing their own music, chord by chord, and others are happiest when they come across that one perfect song. Work is not a lot different than that. Whether you prefer building your own workflow or using a pre-made template, with Monday.com, you and the team can work in a way that's comfortable for everyone. Tap the banner to go to Monday.com and build your own amazing workflow, or find an awesome template. No judgment.
Welcome to the RuPaul's Drag Race recap show for Season 6, Episode 4, titled Shade, the Rusical. My name is Joe Betance, and I am joined, as always, by one diabolical co-host. From the podcast pod is my Kippy. Please sing, You Must Love Me, to Taylor, the Latte Boy.
Diabolical or diabetic? Because I might be both of those things.
I meant biodolical, which I don't even know what that means.
Biodolical?
Yeah, I don't even know what that means. How are you, Taylor the Latte Boy? How's life treating you? What's going on with you?
Life's okay. Life's occasionally kicking me in the balls, but it's also giving me joy and wondrous opportunities for challenge, to challenge myself and to rise above. And that's what I'm going through right now. And that's as far into that story as I'm going to go.
Look, I know when we showed up today, you were like, I want to talk about drag queens. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to ask any questions. We're going to talk about drag. You know what? I'm going to tell you what, Taylor. If you're feeling a little low, well, I'm going to tell you this is a perfect. If you want to fucking talk about drag queens, this is a perfect episode.
Yes. This is a very, in many ways, a happy episode. So it's a good one. And I will say this. Yeah. I threw out a teaser because, again, I'm watching this episode with my husband, and we watched the actual episode. I think it was last night, but we watched Untucked tonight. And I said to him, there is a pivotal moment in this episode of Untucked that will become very important later on.
Oh, really?
And he said, what is it? And I said, I'm not going to tell you what the moment is. I'm not going to tell you when it happens. Just be aware.
Oh, I hope I knew it. I pulled two big long clips, but I hope it's in there. I hope it's not something random. Oh, okay, I hope it's something random.
I'm sure it is. It's leads. Yes, we'll just.
Well, we'll get there. We'll get there. If not, look, I have it. I can only go back and put it in. You know.
So, by the way, I commented before we started because I'm going to turn it back on you that you got a haircut and you look very, very nice.
Oh wow! Thank you very much. Now all I have to do, I'm going to tell you something. I was telling someone the other day about this. Do you remember that Robert Downey Jr.? Remember? I was actually okay. I was talking to someone who's very young and doesn't remember things. Okay?
Right.
And I was talking about how Robert Downey Jr. at one point.
Wait, you were talking to somebody that was young?
I know, Taylor. It's such a problem. I know. So I'm just used to them not knowing things.
And that's how you like it.
Yeah, every day, like, I'm the History fucking channel. And he was talking about, to him, Robert Downey Jr. is just a super famous guy. I said, you don't understand. And this is the craziest thing. He was like, well, we pulled out together Aaron Carter. And he was like, wouldn't you say, when he was at his worst, he was like Aaron Carter? Who else would there be? Who would be a modern person that he was like the equivalent of at his worst?
Well, except the difference is people were still interested in what was going on with Robert Downey Jr., whereas Aaron Carter's just kind of a train wreck. You thought for a while, Robert Downey Jr., for those of our youngest listeners, was kind of the equivalent of Lindsay Lohan about 10 years ago. But this is going back like 20 years ago, where he was a huge mess, where he woke up naked in somebody else's house, like in a kid's room, where he like broke into a house and fell asleep in like a kid's bed or something. And he went to jail for a while, too.
Yeah.
And huge drug and alcohol problem. And they told him his career would never bounce back.
Yeah. I mean, Lindsay Lohan is a better example, actually, because I can't imagine a world where Lindsay Lohan bounces back.
No, I think her opportunity for that is long gone. Like, she tried with that movie she did with the porn star that James Dean guy, and then that kind of stuff. Cut to 5 years from now when somebody's listening to this and they're just literally looking at an article about recent Academy Award winner Lindsay Lohan.
Look, would you ever thought Matthew McConaughey would have won an award?
No,
an Oscar?
I don't get the appeal with him. I don't at all.
So I was talking about how one of the turning point, the tipping point for Robert Downey Jr.'s career was when he made that music video for Elton John for I Want Love. Do you remember this?
Oh, God, I kind of forgot about that, yeah.
That was the one where people were like, huh. And I think that led to people going like, we forgive him. That was sort of his big... Because the song is essentially not asking for forgiveness, but saying, this is why I do what I do.
He was also on Ally McBeal, too.
Around the same time. Yeah. He was an Ally McBeal. You're right. So, anyway, the reason I bring that up is because, I was looking... It's so sad. What a fucking gay guy I am. But I was looking at that music video to remind myself, and he's just the right... He's the right thin that I want. And I always have this creepy thing I want to do, actually. I've never done it. But whenever I see someone who's my height... Which is, for everyone know, here's the funny thing people wouldn't realize is you and I have such a large disparity in height. How tall are you?
5'11".
Oh, for some reason I thought you were 6'3" or something.
No. Rodan is 6'3".
Oh,
my co-host.
No, I'm 5'7". Okay. And so whenever I see a celebrity who's 5'7", or I meet someone who's 5'7", who's kind of the perfect weight that I want, not super thin, just normal weight. I always want to ask them how much they weigh. because as you and I, we're both bigger guys, and those weight charts are way wrong. And I don't know why the medical profession still uses them.
Yeah, well, I went to my endocrinologist a couple of weeks ago, and he said, well, you're at this weight, and we could probably get you what the hell? I don't care. He said, you should probably get down to 220. He goes, and even that, he goes, that's still heavy. But if you get down to 220, I'm thinking if I got down to 220, I'd be walking around naked all the time.
Would you really?
Well, at this point, I feel like I'd have lots of excess skin, but I couldn't tell you the last time I was 220. But that's one of those. Actually, I can tell you the last time I was 220 was probably right after college when I was convinced I looked like I was 400 pounds. And I look at myself now and I'm like, oh my God, I was adorable. Why didn't I put myself out there more?
That is so funny that you sent that. In fact, I'm going to see if I can find it right now on my phone. I'm going to send you a picture that someone sent me from 15 years ago. All right.
Okay.
A friend sent me from 15 years ago. And I was in the picture, it's a picture of me. We used to watch Survivor together. And I was, I used to do an impression when the show started. I would do an impression of the way, the beginning of Survivor when they, hold on, I got to download this picture. The beginning of Survivor when they do however the Survivor theme song goes, and they focus on the contestant, and he looks at the camera super dramatically.
Yeah.
So,
I'm assuming I've never watched an episode of Survivor.
You've never seen Survivor?
I watched the ending of the first season. I watched when they awarded Richard Hatch Survivor, but otherwise, I've never watched a whole episode. And I watched the episode where the guy fell into the fire. Those are the only 2 times I've ever seen it.
So I'm sending you a picture of me. I literally thought I was a gigantic fat cow at the time that this picture was taken. And I saw this and I was like, I would kill to look like this now.
Okay.
I would kill to look like this.
Oh my God. I would have had the big pants for you back in our 20s.
Oh, really?
I would have been the creepy guy at the end of the bar watching you dance with your friends. Thinking, I'd like to see what is in his pants.
Oh, you could have been Taylor the Latte Betance.
Exactly.
But what would have been my name? Let's go through this because you have all these. So anyone who doesn't listen to the pod is my co-pilot. People don't generally on the show want their real names used, so they make up names for them. Now, generally, it's kind of organic how it comes up. But what would have been my name if I would have been in the menagerie of Taylor's boyfriends?
So if we had been boyfriend, oh God, that's tough to put me on the spot like that. So
like, while he's thinking about it, like, for instance, the boyfriend that became his husband was Babalu.
Right.
And then before that, his name was...
Drum
Yeah.
Riley Calhoun.
Drum Riley Calhoun. And his co-host, Rodan, he's married to a guy named Gambit. But before, there was another guy named what?
Sprout.
I was going to say Patch. So they all have these kinds of names. So... your task, much like you don't have to do it this episode, is to think of what my pod as my co-pilot name would have been.
Okay, and this is okay. So what I'm seeing from this picture, is we're definitely cute, and we're a little stocky, but we're not heavy, and we definitely have features that I would consider to be very Hispanic looking.
Yeah.
So,
Cha-cha. Tamale.
Tamale Jackson. Okay, you laughed at that, so I'm stopping there. So Tamale Jackson, that would have been your nickname.
Oh, my name would have been Tamale Jackson. Oh, look at that. All right.
And there would have been ongoing jokes about the size of your burrito and your taquito and...
I think from now on Pod as my co-pilot now, I want to be referred to no longer as Joe Betance, but Tamale Jackson.
So I just randomly, and I don't explain it. I just start saying Tamale Jackson.
Yeah, and then you can say I'm doing a podcast with Tamale Jackson, and they're like, what? And don't ever explain it. Yeah.
I will see what I can do about that. We've taped our recent episode, and I know I mentioned you at least once, but on the next one that we tape next week, I will. I'm going to
tell you something. Listen, I listen to Pod as my co-pilot when I'm cooking breakfast and whatnot. And today, I will say, guys, I do have, and actually, I texted Taylor about this recently. I do text him frequently. In fact, that's what the point of this story is. But I will say, I feel very lucky. This is why I texted Taylor the other day. It is a surreal and very lucky experience that you and I are in this community where I have friends who create content that I enjoy listening to, but also that I know them personally. And so, I'll be driving and it's sort of surreal to hear my name. Like, for instance, I'm making breakfast today, and Taylor was like, and I have to turn my phone off because I don't want to get a bunch of text messages. Joe Betance, I'm looking at you. And I was like, what did I just do? I'm making a breakfast burrito.
Yeah, because you never say things teasing me on catching up. Never this. So this Tale of the Latte Boy? Let me tell you something about this Tale of the Latte Boy. And then it goes into some story where I'm literally in my car going, that's not true. That's not how that happened.
I know, it's always Mike apologizing for you too.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I think Taylor maybe meant that. I'm like, no. He didn't mean that.
He's a horrible person. He's cruel.
Yeah, he's terrible. All right. So what do we do here on this show? I was telling you, so the other day, I wanted to get my knife sharpened.
Yes, yes, okay.
You know the story?
I've heard this story recently someplace.
Yeah. Oh, so then never mind. I'll tell you the story then. Well, I'll tell the story to the audience.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you something. There's a farmer's market by where I am, right? And every goddamn week I go there to buy like a $4 organic plum. Which, by the way, what are your thoughts on organic fruit or organic food?
I get why Taffy is a huge organic food fan, and she's especially with like organic milk and stuff. I'm okay with it. I mean, I usually just buy the stuff with the bug spray on it, but I've been eating that in my entire life, so at this point, I don't see a difference.
Okay, you're saying a lot of really good things. First of all, look, organic milk, makes a little bit of sense to me, right? But some of they go crazy in this organic shit, right? I think organic. First of all, look, I'm going to tell you something. I've done research into this guy. I fight with people all the time. Some people think that organic means they don't use pesticides. Oh no. They still use pesticides. Mm-hmm. They just use organic pesticides. And by the way, you're like, oh, well, that's not no. Cyanide is technically organic pesticides. Okay? Right. So they can use cyanide as long as it's the poison is organic. And you know what? Because it's not as strong, they have to use more of it. They use more than the chemical one, like that's just made with by whoever that what's the name of that company that everyone hates?
Monsanto.
Yeah, Monsanto. Right now, here's the other thing. All right, you don't want poison, but there's people who get like organic avocados. That's stupid. The poison never permeates the stupid thick pebbly skin. Like if you're gonna get organic raspberries, I get it. You're gonna get organic blueberries, I get it. Lettuce, stuff that the poison would actually be on the thing you're gonna eat. Organic bananas and organic avocados is so silly because the poison never. No, I don't know what you're talking about. That's dumb. 1, 2, and we're gonna get all these. People get so crazy about organic stuff. 2, that's the part I love. I have a grandmother. I think my grandmother uses this chug poison, right? She's 88, right? Grandfather. He used to just run in the fields, just rubbing poison all over himself. 87. Right? What I'm trying to say, I'm not saying that because they had poison, that they live longer. I just don't think it really affects you that much. By the way, that's just a gut reaction. Meanwhile, this Linda McCartney, she's eating organic vegetarian shit, dead. What good did it do Linda McCartney? Right?
This week, we lose a mini challenge. The girls perform in a musical. Trinity Bonina Brown is negative. Gia's voice is annoying. Lucian Piani is normal. And Adore is adorkable. Everybody performed well, but in the end, April and Trinity were placed in the bottom 2. After a great lip sync, Trinity was told to stay, while April was asked to sashay away. Joe, name 2 things you liked about this episode and 1 thing you didn't.
You're putting me on the spot, you asshole, because usually I think about mine when you're doing yours. And now
I know mine. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first. I think about it usually. I'll think about it when he's doing his.
Okay.
Long, rambly one about someone's shoe.
I did not remember how much I liked Shade the Rusical. I thought it was really well done, and the fact that it was all singing versus just kind of the lip syncing to the track, I appreciated that more. The other thing that I know that I really liked was I loved this lip sync. And particularly Trinity's lip sync to the song. This is one of my all-time favorite, probably top 50 songs, and she turned it out, and it was amazing to watch that. The thing I didn't like, I don't get Gia Gunn. I don't get what a bitch she is. However, I recognize that she makes for good television. But she's also kind of that person that you just love to hate. So I'm going to say that was my least favorite part of it. How about you? What are your 2 favorites and thing you didn't like?
You know what? I really liked, this is going to sound really weird and we'll probably get into this later. I really liked seeing young, cute, sane Lucian Piani.
Yes.
I was like, he used to be sane. He used to be cute. He used to be like, because also with Lucian Piani, even before he went insane, he got really cunty. Remember, like in season 7 or something, he was just gonna be like, you could tell he was like trying to trap them for the soundbite, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas I felt with this one, he wasn't. I felt he was literally trying to have them make a good musical,
right?
And he wasn't trying to like entrap them in some great soundbite. That was one thing I liked. I also really liked. Let's see here. I really, really liked. I guess I liked the fighting between. We're going to talk about. I liked Trinity and Bianca's fight. I never knew they fought so much. I didn't remember that.
I didn't remember that either. I think we tend to focus more on the end of the season where, in some ways, Bianca really kind of becomes Trinity's cheerleader. So you can also kind of see that with some of the things that she says. We're going to talk about Untucked later, I'm assuming. Yeah. And I have some thoughts about Bianca that I maybe didn't necessarily have when I watched the season the first time.
Yeah, and then what I didn't like. I'm actually, I don't, this is so controversial, we'll probably get into this too later. I have always felt this way, and this episode confirmed it. I'm not a big fan of Courtney and Adore's singing voices. And I don't think they're as good as singers as they make them out to be on the show.
I would agree with that. I would definitely. It just seems like they always focused on like the 3 seconds of that me sort of thing that they did. That it never sounded right to me. Whenever I would agree with that.
Well, absolutely. Part of it, I will say, part of it is shitty songwriting. I feel like what he's making them do is kind of shitty songwriting, but also. I just don't like that their style of. I'm not a big fan of that American Idol style of singing with the melismas and all the drama they do. Like, fucking sing the goddamn song. I don't need to hear the runs that you're doing on the song. So those would be my 2 things I like and 1 thing I didn't. All right. After the elimination, the girls enter the workroom to wipe off the mirror message from Vivacious. Gia made snarky comments and traded barbs with Bianca.
Oh, yes, you're serving. Are you in a Whitesnake video? What are you doing over there?
I'm feeling my oats. Let me feel my own.
The next day, the girls gathered in the workroom for the day. RuPaul entered and introduced this week's mini challenge: female or she-male. In the contest, different body parts were shown, and the contestants needed to guess whether those parts belonged to a biological female or a psychological female. Adore and Ben were named the winners of the challenge, but we never saw any of this. In one of the biggest controversies of the entire show, World of Wonder pulled any reference to the show from the episodes after an uproar from the trans community. The mini-challenge only aired on the very first run in 2014. Taylor, do you remember this whole controversy?
I do now, because I was like, did I black out during part of the episode? Because I don't remember this. And now it makes sense as to why the captains were picked for each side, because I didn't understand that. And I also didn't understand why the episode, when I downloaded it, was only 38 minutes long. So you're answering a wealth of knowledge that that was vacant in my head. That sentence makes no sense grammatically, but I understand what I meant.
No, it made, for the very same reasons that you were confused, I was like, that's when it hit me. And I was like, oh, this must be the episode that had that contest. And so I went and did the research. Yeah.
I also remembered that I also noticed that this was the first time that they didn't do, or maybe because they edited this out, was there was no, ooh, girl, you got she-male. Because they've been showing
it was just a siren.
Yeah. Yeah, so I thought, okay, but that seems early on for them to have removed that, because I thought that happened in season 7 for some reason. Where they
what's so funny? You know what's so funny is they didn't remove it from the first 3 episodes. You would think they would just do it. I think the remaining episodes, it's just the siren. And you would think in the first 3 episodes they would go out and just make it a siren as well. I could see not touching the other seasons. You're like, no, we're not dealing with that. Yeah. But with the first 3 episodes, you would think, but they didn't. And so for those of you who don't remember or are too young to remember, they had this contest where they showed pictures of different body parts, and they had to guess whether the body parts belonged to an actual biological woman or to a she-male. I think one of the defenses was it wasn't actually ever trans people, it was drag queens. Okay. I think that was one of the defenses. And the trans community went in uproar, and this is one of the reasons why Carmen Carrera became like persona non grata in the RuPaul world. And so the show buckled, even though RuPaul fought back.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember her having statements about it.
And I felt RuPaul made some very good points. I actually still feel that maybe that... Okay, look, this is what I feel. I feel that contest was in poor taste, and I understand removing the contest. Maybe they should have never done the contest. Mm-hmm. But the ooh, girl, you got she-male... I never really related that to trans people until they pointed that out, you know? And you know, one of the points she made that I always thought was a great point was that drag queens are meant to buck the system, and they like to push boundaries. So actually, by telling drag queens you can't do this, they're going to do it even more. Because that's what drag queens do. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily proven to be true, but I thought it was a really, really good point that being drag was about being punk. And if society says you're not supposed to do it, then you do it. And that so they were almost kind of making a Streisand effect with the problem. And that was one of her defenses. I think to this day she probably still thinks they shouldn't have backed down.
Oh, I would agree with that. I don't know. I think that a lot of... Okay, how do I say this without getting in trouble? I think that part of the fun of that show, especially when we go back and watch these early seasons, is there is a lot of tongue-in-cheek, and there is a lot of things aren't being said to hurt feelings. Things, unless they're reading one another. But I mean, as far as the idea, the show is supposed to celebrate people that are different. And sometimes the best way that we can celebrate people that are different is to gently tease and to make comments and to, that kind of stuff in a way that is not hurtful. And I feel that there are times that all of us, myself included, but all of us sometimes need to take a step back and recognize that we're not doing this to hurt anybody. This is not being done to offend. This is being done to celebrate. And even if it's a little comment like, "Ooh, girl, you got shemale," it's not, it wasn't meant to, I truly don't feel as though she went into that thinking, oh, be really funny and piss off all of those trannies. Let's say this instead. I think she said it because it was a funny tongue-in-cheek thing, and people just need to stop being so sensitive sometimes. And I know
Shut up, Tubby.
I know it's easy for me to say that as, especially a white male. It's easy for me to, but, some of my favorite jokes have been gay jokes. So that's, we all can't take ourselves quite so seriously all the time.
And also we should remember too, it would be fun to go back, not fun, but interesting to go back. That it wasn't clear cut. There were a lot of trans people who came out in defense of RuPaul as well, and who made full-throated defense of the show. And that's one of the things too that would make me mad is, and I feel gay people can often do this as society, as a group, is we attack our own and we attack ourselves. And this is a show that has done more for people who question for gender questioning people, for people who have trouble. I mean, it's made society so much more welcome to people who question their gender identity and struggle with that. Some dumb joke, they can be forgiven.
Not even so much gender. I mean, yes, gender identity, but also you have people of size. You have people that maybe they don't necessarily subscribe to being one, to being having any sort of sexual identity. You have people that maybe are asexual. You have people Sharon Needles is somebody that, had she not been on the show, would have been looked at when she went down the street as a freak. And there are a lot of people in the world that maybe feel the way they think to themselves, somebody like Sharon Needles is out there and she is becoming America's Drag Next Superstar. I could be like that. It is okay to be that person. You have somebody like Sharon saying the statement that she makes when people boo, it's just applause from ghosts. Yeah. Like you have people like that are presenting this positive image that I think sometimes it gets lost. You are absolutely correct. And when you were starting to say that, I was thinking the same thing, that there are many times within the gay community. And I would also say I would expand beyond that to, I would say, the liberal community or the more progressive community. We tend to eat our own. Mm-hmm. And we're so busy infighting that we don't recognize some of the other issues out there. We're too busy battling ourselves to recognize who the real enemy is. As far as, and I didn't go into a political thing, but I mean, as far as people that are oppressive and people that don't appreciate and celebrate and want to belittle and put us back in our boxes.
All right, let's move on. After the mini challenge, RuPaul announced this week's main stage challenge.
Now this week, in the most ambitious challenge in Drag Race history, you'll be performing live in the original production of Shade, the Rusical.
Wait, I always like pointing this stuff out. I just heard it now listening to the audio. Do you hear the it's called ADR. Do you hear the ADR when they added the word live in?
No.
Watch, listen.
You'll be performing live in the original production of
I want to hear that again. I just heard that right now I was doing that.
Drag Race history. You'll be performing live in the original production of Shade, the Rusical.
That sounded awful.
That was awful.
Yeah, but you notice that stuff when you're hearing the audio. Yeah. So funny. Okay. First, let's talk about Team Ben. Team Ben consisted of Courtney, Bianca, Darian, Gia, and Trinity. During the episode, Courtney felt competitive with Adore, and people found Gia Gunn's voice annoying. During rehearsals, Bianca and Trinity were cast as the pageant queens, and Trinity was none too happy about that.
Trinity, does being a pageant queen or a comedy queen seem interesting to you?
No, I don't want to be the fuck up, so I'd rather just kind of play it safe.
You'd prefer to be a pageant queen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Trinity, she always seems over it. Nothing excites her.
Later, during RuPaul's table visit, Trinity continued to doubt herself.
Now, Trinity, you seem quiet. Have you done musical theater?
In junior high.
Yeah, but she played a tree, so...
Oh, okay.
Just like the acting challenge, this is new for me, too. So, I'm going to give it my best, and, I'm a drag queen. I lip sync. I don't sing live.
This is really one of those challenges where you have to work together and at the same time stand out as the star that you are.
Yeah.
So get to it, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you.
During Team Ben's rehearsal with Lucian Piani, Trinity complained about the choreography.
Stretch, okay? So
I'm sorry. I need to know. When she said, who are you?
We are the pageant queen.
Does that make sense?
Can we do it? Because it's a lot different when you're trying to and then fall back into
well,
it.
Well, that's how you get to run it, so that you can try it.
I think when we're doing the steps, we need to take smaller steps. So,
that's not my problem. The problem is turning around.
Right before they turn you, going...
Get your feet in the right place.
So that it's really clear they're stopping you.
For myself. Fuck it, I'll just fall all over the stage. That's it.
Later, back in the workroom, Bianca and Trinity had words about Trinity's struggle with the choreography.
No, you're coming with me, Missy. Boom.
I'm you. Do you see the difficultness in doing it backwards and then trying to turn around at the same time? And it's really, really fast.
She has to be here.
It took you too long to move. I'm telling you, you're supposed to hit it. You have to travel fast.
Considering this has been your problem area, take a second and calm down. I walk to her and I say, turn around. I would suggest you figure out what you need to do prior to telling me what I'm not doing
You're
right.
absolutely right, Bianca, because you don't do anything wrong.
I
apologize that I
bitch.
open my mouth, and that's why I don't say anything in the first place.
All right, Taylor, any thoughts on the Team Ben storyline?
Trinity, it's hard to hear that just because I remember really kind of becoming a Trinity fan over the course of the season. And this is part of her storyline. This is part of her arc, that we're seeing the insecurity, we're seeing the uncertainty. I think the more important part to that, though, is how Bianca is talking to her, because we're starting to see the beginnings of the cheerleader here, definitely, and that she is saying things. She is trying to give her a kick in the ass, and at no point do I hear her talking down to her. She's just kind of stating, look, this is what we have to do. So do it or don't. But, I'm going to try. I'm going to carry you as much as I can, but I can't carry you all the way. So take the smaller steps and see, you want to be here. She has to end up at this part. And I appreciate that watching this a second time. I appreciate Bianca more because of that. How about you?
What's funny is you're talking about that. And, this is I didn't pull it from Untucked, but it comes up on Untucked where she says, basically the Bianca Del Rio version of "This ain't RuPaul's best friend race."
Yeah.
And what's funny is I would never have pegged Bianca Del Rio to say that, because she has become very close with a lot of them, and actually does sort of become sort of the mother in the group.
Yeah.
And I think she's trying to fight that. She probably is aware that she can do that, and perhaps is even trying to fight her tendency to be like that.
I don't want to get that there's really, I want to speak to that, but it involves a conversation that is way down the line in another episode, when they are talking about Bianca as far as being a possible finalist or being the winner of the season. And I remember RuPaul talking about the fact that she has been so motherly to a lot of the queens, and talking with them and supporting them. And she said, and RuPaul says the reason she did it is that she was never intimidated by them. She thought the whole time she was going to win. So it didn't matter. There wasn't any, I don't want to help them because they might get a leg above me. She always in her head figured, I'm here to win this. So whatever you do, I'm not going to be scared by you. So here, if you need help, as we're going to see in a future episode, girl, if you need my cincher, I'll let you borrow my cincher. That kind of stuff. There is a maturity, which is funny considering the way she's so mean to everybody, but there is a maturity in this that I really appreciate, especially considering you've got such a group of young queens that you can't help but sometimes picture yourself on these shows, whether it's Drag Race or Survivor or Top Chef or something like that. And you watch some of the meltdowns that people have and you think to yourself, the responses from other people. And I think to myself, I would hope in that situation, I wouldn't go toe for toe screaming and yelling at somebody. I would say, well, no, wait a minute. Let's take a second. You just said this, and saying it in a calm way, kind of like what she said. You're the one having the problem with this. So rather than screaming about it, let's work on it. Because a lot of other queens in that room and in other seasons would have taken that as an opportunity to just scream and yell at one another, and nothing would have got accomplished from it. So I appreciate that about the maturity of Bianca Del Rio.
Yeah, even early on, and now we're starting to see, even in episode 4, she's starting to get more comfortable with the camera. So she's not trying as hard. She does still try hard when it's very obvious the camera's on her. So I feel she's still trying hard on Untucked. Mm-hmm. But during when she's just in the workroom, she's just forgotten the cameras are there by this point. And there is a sort of regal air to her. Where and like for instance, I felt when Bob was on season 8, there was he knew he won, and there was a sort of arrogance about it. They almost didn't want to see him win. Right. Because he was so cocksure about how he was going to win, Yeah. And you're like, fucker, he is going to win. And he knew it. And he it was not cute at some points. Whereas with Bianca, she has that same self-confidence that she's better. She's sized up the queens and realized that none of them really come close to her. Mm-hmm. And so there's a confidence, but without any arrogance. It's kind of like, well, let's just play this out, But it doesn't feel like she doesn't feel entitled, self-entitled to the crown. Yeah. But yet she knows she's better than the rest of them. And it's just like, well, let me just go through the motions here and get my crown.
And I would kind of disagree with you about, especially this episode of Untucked. There's a moment with Milk where Milk is talking about her look, and she turns to her and says, well, do you feel like you could defend that on the runway? And she says it in a way that's not shady, that's not reading. It's like I'm genuinely interested because while I may not understand or may not like your look, I'm curious. It's not done to try to intimidate anybody. It's just this little moment that I thought to myself. Well, my first thought was with that and you're the one screwing, you're screwing up, so let's work on it. And even some of the other stuff that she says later on the episode of Untucked, where I'm like, she's clearly been in therapy. Some of the responses that she has to things is where she responds to things in a way that I think is very mature and looks at things like we're going to take a step back and we're going to allow the dust to settle to some degree. And I don't know. I remember a moment coming up where it's kind of the moment that I really started to like Bianca. And I feel like looking back and knowing ahead of time what I'm going to see later on, that moment is coming sooner than I remember. Because at this point, I just remember a lot of the eye rolls and the whole thing of where she looks in the camera and smirks with the whole, with the interviews, and I was over her this part of the season. But I'm liking what I see a second time around.
Moving on Team Adore, April doesn't want to play Butch. Jocelyn has a unique tone to her voice, and Adore continues to be insecure.
Now, Adore, what character are you playing?
I am playing Bad Penny.
Now, that's a big singing role, isn't it?
It is.
That's something you should excel at.
It should be cool.
Well, why do you doubt yourself like that? Last week, the note for you was to be prepared when you hit the set. You have to do your homework.
I'm pretty nervous because I really, really want the judges to see that I'm not a filler bitch.
All right, that's actually all I pulled for Team Adore. Team Adore's storyline this episode was very much in the background. There wasn't a lot of drama on their storyline.
Right.
But was there anything you wanted to bring up with Team Adore?
No, I wonder now, especially with you bringing up the whole live thing, if they had decided once they realized it. I almost wonder if there is a track someplace of Shade the Rusical with some studio singers that they decided, we have 2 people from Idol on this season. Let's use them, and then we'll just see who else kind of floats to the top and who sinks. Because, I mean, it's clear there's two main singing roles. They have 2 people that were contestants on Idol. Why wouldn't they allow for that opportunity?
Yeah, but then I was thinking, like, why wouldn't they engineer it that Darian was on the team where they needed the big girl?
Well, because one team had 4 and one team had 5. Or one team had 6 and one team had 5.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, why didn't... If they're that concerned, why... Oh, what are you saying? Say it again. Say it I'm stupid.
No, you're not stupid. Okay. Wow, okay. Have you been to a therapist lately?
I have my flipper teeth on, and you know what? I'll just fall off the stage.
With a cork? Look, I have a cork right... Where's my cork? Oh, shit. What did I do with my cork? What was I talking about? Okay, so one team had 6 and one team had 5.
Yeah.
And maybe they just they didn't know which team was going to pick Darian. So maybe it was just sort of that... Because the team with 6 had 6... The team had... So who picked first? Was that...
Team Ben picked first.
Team Ben. So... Maybe Ben didn't think to pick Darian.
Well, he didn't know what script he has either.
Right. So, I mean, yeah, but if they give somebody a script, if there were 5 roles on the one, they have to give them where there's 6 roles on the other one. So if there's 6 people on his side, they can't give him a script for 6 and the other 6 script for 5. Does that make sense? Math is hard. So but I'm.
The Bianca role was not the Bianca role. The big girl role was on Team Adore.
Right.
Team Adore didn't have Darian on it. So yeah.
Okay, but if Team Adore picked... No, wasn't it Team Milk?
No. Adore and Ben.
Okay. So if Team Adore went second, then she was always going to have 5, and Team Ben was always going to have 6.
Yeah.
So... I don't know.
The point I'm making is you're saying that it was engineered because they knew they were going to have 2 singers.
Yes.
But I kind of feel like both Adore and Courtney oversang their songs. I don't think you need... Yeah.
If they know it's a live... If Ben knows it's got to be a live performance and he needs people that can sing, and Adore is already on one and he gets to go first... He would be a fool not to pick Courtney.
Yes. He knew he was doing a musical, so you're right.
Yeah. So, I mean, so he got to go first, and they didn't have the scripts yet, so it's not, I mean, I guess technically they could have just, but he wouldn't have known that there was a big girl role in that
he
script,
didn't.
or rather.
But
so,
the big girl role's in Adore script, yeah.
Right, so Adore didn't know there was a big girl in the script, so she wouldn't have said, well, I need to get Darian on.
Yeah, but my point is, if the producers, because you were making the point that the producers engineered the play for Adore and Courtney. I'm saying if they were doing that, well, why not engineer that Darian is on the team that they had the big girl? Like, just tell one of them, like, look, we need Darian to be on that team, whatever happens.
Well, I mean, I guess they could have done that, but...
They didn't. To their credit, they didn't. And look, here's the thing, too. We can talk about this now, anyway. Well, one little point. Did you clock on during Lucian's rehearsal with Team Adore that April Caron was wearing a Candy Ho t-shirt?
Yes, Candy Ho t-shirt. I did notice that.
Anyway, I didn't even put this as a storyline because it was such a not storyline, but they were trying to play up the whole Adore and Courtney were both on American Idol. Storyline. I thought it was like, meh.
Well, and then they're randomly having where they're both like out trying to outsing each other in the workroom.
But they really weren't. You could tell.
Yeah.
It was just, Courtney was running her lines and Dora was running her lines, and they try to make it seem like they were like doing like a sing off. It was so lame, and they clearly were not competitive with each other at all. That show's dumb. But I feel like the show now, a season 9 or season I can't speak for season 10, but season 9 of RuPaul's Drag Race would have somehow made it a bigger deal than it was.
Well, yeah, and that's what we've seen. That's the joy of watching this show, is even at season 6 is kind of the turning season, I think, for a lot of people's minds, because where it's more a lot of the drama that happened after season 6 because is more manufactured, not even necessarily I think by the producers, but also by the queens themselves. They recognize that if they can get a go back to Party City moment where you belong type moment, that's going to be the moment of all moments of the season. They all are trying for not even necessarily to win, but to get that moment, to have that you're gorgeous, you look like Linda Evangelista. They're looking to have that. Whereas I think still by season 6, you weren't seeing that as much. It was really about the competition. You know, we talked ad nauseum about season 7, or you talked about it and I talked about it a couple times, but that was kind of where you start to see the turn, where you start to see the it's all about publicity versus all about the art of drag in some ways, you know, which is also kind of an ironic statement because we talked about the fact that Milk is definitely somebody that is ahead of her time, and you see more of that in later seasons. So, you know, it's not just about being the fishy queen. It's there's other stuff going along with it. But yeah, the season 6, I am so in my own head right now. Go ahead, keep talking. I'm sorry.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I think I just had a stroke. I'm not sure.
Well, no, just to touch on what you were saying. Yeah, it's so funny that the season, it's the season, I don't know how to explain it, but the attitude of this queens and the season is such that Milk is this total weirdo.
Yeah.
And yet in subsequent seasons, they seem to have cherry-picked a lot of what Milk has done or tried to do, and put it into the show. And I think season 6 around that time is when Conchita Wurst won Eurovision?
Yeah.
And so she was all over the news, and Conchita Wurst, for those of you who don't know, is a I don't know how Conchita Wurst identifies herself. We'll say drag queen, but I don't think she's really a drag queen. She could be trans. I don't know what she's.
I want to. Yeah, she's gender fuck. I mean, that would be.
And she looks like a woman. She wears the makeup, but she has a full beard.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like the big hit of Eurovision that year. I think it was that year. And
because season 7 was when they all did the beards for the runway challenge.
Yeah. So I think they started like, oh, you know what? Maybe Milk was onto something here. And so then they started to incorporate it. But on the season, they're kind of, as we'll hear it on Tucked, because again, as we all know, the producers engineer these fights, particularly on Untucked. And so when Gia comes for Milk, but it's really the show coming for Milk.
Yeah.
They just help Gia do it. It's Elimination Day, and Courtney and Adore bond over their idol experiences. Gia doesn't know what a Tony is, and Gia Gunn shares her experience in Kabuki Theater. On the main stage, the girls perform the musical live in front of the judges. Okay, so let's actually talk about the finished product.
Okay.
And we can talk about anything that happened on Elimination Day you want to talk about. But what was your take on the finished musical?
I really liked it. I mean, it's definitely one of those that sticks with you. I mean, even like when we've talked about other scenes, other where they do this sort of musical challenge, I don't remember a lot of them, but Shade the Rusical is one that I definitely always remember. I know, wasn't Daniel a huge fan of Shade the Rusical? Or I feel like he talked about it a lot.
Oh yeah, Daniel always Daniel really loved Glamazonian Airways, which I believe is
I loved Glamazonian Airways. He loved Bitch Perfect.
He loved Bitch Perfect.
Right, but I feel like he really loved Shade the Rusical as well. Loves.
Shade the Rusical is the only one where the girls sang.
Right.
Because Bitch Perfect, Glamazonian Airways, they're lip syncing.
And what was the one for 9? Did they do one for 9?
Yes, they did. We just did it, right? Huh? Oh, the Kardashian, the musical.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, and what did they do for 8? Oh, 8 was Bitch Perfect.
8 was Bitch Perfect.
Okay. All right. So, yes, it was the only one where they sang. And I thought some of the other people, their voices weren't horrible. I thought Ben de la Creme's voice was pretty good. I'm trying to think of somebody else now. That's the only one that I remember off the top of my head. But, I thought they were fun. It was a fun show. It was, again, tongue-in-cheek, kind of making fun of some of the other, of some of the queens, but doing it in a way that was appreciative. I would also like to say, though, that I did find Gia's information or Gia's revelation, whatever you want to call it, about her being in Kabuki very interesting. It's probably the most interesting thing that she reveals on the show. And that is something that is, I would say, we haven't really had very many Asian contestants on. And for her to speak to something that is very Asian as far as Kabuki theater, and that be part of her story that is one thing I appreciated about her and some of the information that she provided. We didn't have Sasha Velour talking about it in season 9 about the history of Kabuki theater like we could have possibly had.
Don't joke about that.
Huh?
Don't joke about that.
I used to do Kabuki theater all the time.
I was part of a Kabuki theater in Russia. And did you, for the... I wanted to make a little meme that was Ginger Minj talking about the Houston hurricane being like, my basement is flood, and then it'd be Sasha Velour interrupting going, don't joke about that.
You should. You totally should.
The people on Reddit are so mean. By the way, Taylor and I are in a private group conversation.
Uh-huh.
And did you see in that private group, someone was talking about they had gone to that area to help a relative.
Yeah.
And I said, his basement was flooded? And he goes, oh, they don't have basements in Texas. And I didn't...
There's no basement at the Alamo. You should know that.
And then everyone laughs at me and I run out. And I'm like, ah! Yeah. And I'm not going to, you know what? He is feeling himself on what he did. And so I'm not going to go like, no, that's a Ginger. You're talking about how you did something noble. That's a Ginger Minj reference.
Because all we do is we just release Drag Race content, even in private chat rooms. That's all we
even
do.
In private chat rooms.
That's all we're good for.
Yeah. We're only good for Drag Race content. Don't joke about that. Okay. It's time for the looks.
All right. Let's go over the looks. I can tell you that as a whole, for the most part, kind of a boring week this week.
Hold on. I closed the wrong... I meant to close Google Drive and I closed Dropbox.
Okay. Well, I can pretty much tell you what every look is. Because it all looks exactly the same.
Oh, while we're here, I want to do a correction.
Okay.
You were talking about how terrible RuPaul looked on episode 3, and I said, no, she doesn't. Taylor, look, peek behind the curtain. Taylor and I recorded 2 episodes that day. She looked awful, episode 3.
Yes.
I thought it was the episode 2 look, where she looked great.
She looked terrible with the gray, with the pull. It was not a good look. I get that she was trying something new, and choices. It was not her best look. Okay, so first out on the runway is Bianca Del Rio, and she is in a gold sequined dress with white fur on the bottom and a big white flower in her hair. I thought she looked okay. I would give this one a boot, I guess, if I had to. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's the big complaint about Bianca Del Rio. It's always the same silhouette. And so it's essentially just a different version of a dress we've already seen.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll give it a boot for Bianca, but it's not a bad look. It's just a boot.
No, it's not a terrible look. It's just, it's kind of, everybody is kind of boring this week with the exception of 1 or 2. And we'll get to that in a moment. Next up is Trinity K. Bonet wearing a dark blue dress with a long kind of cape at the waist and a cinched beaded belt with light brown hair. This is probably my favorite look it's in my top 3 of favorite looks of the night. I thought she looked great. She is serving Angela Bassett realness again, and those arms I am living for the muscles in those arms. So I would give this look a toot. What about you?
I like it. I don't know how I feel about the jeweled belt. I don't know what the solution is because I literally wear black t-shirts and jeans every day, but I don't know if I like that middle section with the gems in it.
Yeah.
But I like everything else. I'm always a big fan of hide your butt robes. So I'll give this one a toot, actually.
All right. Okay. So we have another sequined dress, only this one is green, from Darian Lake, who is serving very Adele in this, even though was Adele around then?
She would have been around by the yeah, it's 2014.
Yeah. So has her hair kind of up in a big bun. It's boring. I give it a toot just because they all kind of look alike to me. But
why didn't she wear this for her St. Patrick's Day?
I was just thinking that maybe like with all of the sequins and the hair, it would have been too much. So she decided to kind of break it up with that black skirt. But it almost looks like it's the top, and she kind of just like hiked up the skirt like into her panties that she wore with the black.
Oh yeah, maybe.
I mean, doesn't it kind of? Yeah, I mean the top actually I know is much higher up on the St. Patrick's Day thing, but that's kind of the look that I'm getting. So you give this a boot or a toot?
I give it a toot. I like it. I know you're very hard on Darian, but
okay, that's not. Well, I guess that is kind of true. Okay, next up is Gia Gunn, who is wearing a nude colored dress that flares out at the mid thigh, and she's serving very pageant realness. I give this look a toot. What do you think?
Yeah, as I said before, it's a toot. It's a very safe toot, but it's a toot.
Oh, I'm getting my toots and my boots mixed up, but I give this a boot.
Oh,
actually.
You do?
This is not. Yeah, this is not my favorite look.
I'm fine with it. I think, like I said, I still stick with it. It's a safe toot.
You know what? That is a perfect way to describe most of these dresses. I'm fine with them. I wasn't necessarily wowed by anybody, including our next queen, which is not Bianca Del Rio, Ben de la Creme, who was wearing a red dress with a huge floral thing on top of her, and then she has red in her hair as well. I thought her silhouette was great with this, and I liked the updo. So I would give this one a toot as well.
So here's the thing. Is Cheryl Lee Ralph gives her that old Coco Chanel line about taking one thing off.
Right.
And she takes that, whatever that is, off her shoulder. And it does look better with it off, but then it's just a boring red dress.
Yes. It's a red dress you could buy at any Dillard's anywhere in the country.
So then I guess I'll give it a boot, because if you need that gross thing, then...
that tumor?
Yeah, if you need that dress tumor, then... yeah, it looks like a lobster wearing oven mitts.
Okay. Next up is a very washed out picture of Courtney Act. I apologize for that. But she's wearing a silvery sequined dress that is up the leg to just below the hip. And she has, I think she has like a pinkish tone to her hair. She looks pretty. But I'm fine with it, to quote Joe Betance, but nothing necessarily special about it. So I'll give it a toot, but it's a toot with reservation.
I feel like in March 2014, a young pheromone saw this and was like, that could be me.
Yeah.
It doesn't have... It has a lot of pheromone to it.
Yeah, absolutely. You're all right on that. So next up, you give that a boot or a toot?
I'll give it a toot.
Okay. All right. Next up is Laganja Estranja, who is wearing a patterned dress that kind of has, I'm not sure what that is, if that's, it must be feathers that go kind of from a slit in the front down the back, and then she has on a headdress that is wings. This is probably my favorite look that Laganja ever has. I'm not a huge Laganja fan, but I thought she looked great. I thought that dress was amazing. So I would definitely give this one a toot. This is in the running between this and Trinity for my toot of the night. What about you?
Yeah, I really like this look. I give it a big toot. I think she looks fantastic here. This is actually probably the best she's looked so far. I don't remember all her looks from the entire season, but I would definitely say this is the best she's looked so far this season. She looks fantastic. She's unclockable. Okay. A big toot.
All right. Next up is April Carrion, who is wearing a white dress with, I don't know what the hell you'd call it. And she has a wig on incorrectly. And this dress, for her being such a little queen, is just way too heavy a look for her. And it looks very bridal. And I am not a fan of this look at all. So as much as I love our April, cute little April, which I found all sorts of pictures online of April as a Twinkie boy. I'll have to send them to you. So it's very, very cute. I give this look though, this is a boot.
Yeah, I don't like it. Drag queens love to dress as like middle-aged women a lot of times.
Yes.
And I don't know why. And this is one of the. She looks like Ana Navarro from CNN, the Republican who's like now hates Trump. And I don't know why she's doing this look. I don't like it. Yeah, it's a boot for me.
Yeah. All right. So next up, Jocelyn Fox wearing a powder blue prom dress and some enormous necklace. Very plain. It looks like a dress that she got at a department store for a prom, and I'm not a fan. I give this one a boot.
I actually like it, and I got a chance to really look at it in Untucked, and I thought maybe if Jocelyn's very basic. And so I think she looks good in very basic stuff. And so, yes, it's very basic, but I think she looks good in it, and I'm going to give it a toot.
I liked her. I will say this about Jocelyn. I liked her makeup in Untucked. They show her, they do a lot of close-ups of her, and there's something about it. Even with that 15-year-old pink, hot pink lipstick, there's something about it. And maybe that's what she's going for. She's going for, because it was supposed to be, award show realness, and maybe she's going for, the young ingenue, like a Taylor Swift 10 years ago kind of thing where she wants to be all I'm a princess and this is my first award show. So that might be what she's going for, but I was not a fan of the dress. All right. Next up is Milk, who came out looking like she was pregnant with crazy hair and looks like she has on red socks with high heels with a big daisy on the side of them. And I appreciate it being different. That being said, I think it's a mess. I give it a boot. What say you?
So here's the thing. I love Milk, and I love what she's doing here. Not what she does with drag. But I'm going to call a Kennedy Davenport in her, and I feel she just brought this outfit, and she just wanted to use this outfit. And she didn't give a shit about this Fakakta challenge. She was like, I'm going to be this pregnant person. And yeah, I would, and just when they go and you would wear that to the Tonys? Yeah. I would wear that to the Tonys. No, you wouldn't. You had this outfit, and you're like, this is the outfit I'm going to wear now. And it is a little frustrating because, do the challenge. And in this challenge called for glamour. And she should have given them glamour. I'm actually shocked, and I could see why the drag queens were shocked as well. I'm actually shocked that she was safe.
Yeah, well, but she was on the team that won, though. So unless they decided to change it and put it where everybody was up for individual, she
there was a losing team?
Oh, was there? No, you're right. They were okay. I got that.
No, they were judges. They were judges individuals.
Yes, I got that wrong for reasons that we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not a good look.
Yeah. All right. So, who's next?
All right. And then our final look is Adore Delano in a silver and black strapless dress, and her hair is off to the side. I thought she looked great. I know there was discussion about her not cinching, but I think that the silhouette allows for you to kind of get away with that a little bit. So I think she looks very pretty here. So I would give this one a toot.
Well, again, it's funny that 3 years ago is so long ago now, but I think she looks the best she's looked so far. So I think she looks good. I think she looks really good. I haven't been a fan of her look so far this season. But also, I would argue, first of all, Michelle's a big fat pig this season. Okay? Let's just be honest. So
you can't say things like that when I'm taking a drink. I was not expecting that.
She looked awful today. She looked like a tube of toothpaste that they were trying to squeeze the last of it out. Michelle,
she did look horrible on Judges Panel. Yeah. I will give you that.
And so for her to be like, why aren't you cinching? But then to me, my argument would be like, well, that's not the body aesthetic that I'm trying to promote. I'm trying to promote body positivity. And cinching is an unnatural thing to do to your body. And I know that a lot of drag queens do it to promote a more feminine look, but as we'll see the following season 7, Violet Chachki took it to a whole new level. that was even almost kind of unsafe. So I would say if I were I would say it looks good, and I would be like, shut up, bitch. Cinch your mouth. Thank you.
Okay.
Michelle's very I think Michelle got a lot of hate this season. Maybe I don't know how I can't remember how she was in season 7. But at a certain point, I think Michelle decided she wanted to be loved, or she liked getting love, and so I think she's a lot. She's not necessarily nice, but she's a lot softer now.
Yeah,
and I think also she realized she's going to have to work with him at some point.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Wasn't this really like with season 6? When did like Battle of the Seasons tours really start? Was that 5 or 6 or?
I don't know. I know
maybe 4.
They may have started before that because they were started by Mimi M first, and then PEG came in and basically ripped it off. Like stole it from Mimi M first. Like literally said, "Oh, hi, Mimi M first," and then like fired her, and now they own it. But she had been doing them, but I don't know when she started doing them, and I don't know when they got as big as they are now. And that's the looks. Now let's go to Untucked. While the best and the worst remained on the main stage, the Safe Girls untucked backstage in the Silver Lounge. While the girls sipped their cocktails, Gia Gunn had a conversation with Milk about her choice for a look. Now we're going to do the same thing we did last week. These clips, I will say we're not doing the whole episode. You know what's funny, Taylor? I'm going to make you a guess.
What?
I got the whole Milk and Gia fight. How long would you guess it is?
It felt like it went on forever, which means it's probably shorter. I would say maybe 3 minutes.
Yeah, it's like 3 minutes. I thought it was going to be like 10 minutes. It's like
no, it felt like it went on forever.
Yeah, it felt like 3. Yeah, I was like, we're going to play the whole fucking... That's why I texted you it's going to be a 2-hour episode. By the way, I feared Taylor was dead today. I was like...
Okay. All right. I had, by the way, all those noises were my chair. I did not just fart. Okay, well, you didn't hear that, so never mind.
No, you're like I Skyped out.
Oh, okay, never mind then. You'll hear it on the recording. So
no, take it out. I don't want to hear that.
Take what out?
That you had a fart?
No, I didn't fart. I said no. I would not. No, I said that noise was my chair. I did not just fart.
Oh, you see, because you Skyped out, you heard, that was just a fart or something. That's what I heard.
Oh, God, no. But now you have to keep all this in.
That noise was a fart. I heard that noise was a fart, and I was like, why is he telling me that? And he's like, and you're going to hear it on the recording. And I was like, no, take it out. I don't want to hear that.
Okay, so I had got into work today, and the air conditioning in our office was not working. Now, a couple of weeks ago, the air conditioning was out, and it got so bad that they sent everybody home.
Yeah.
So I was and I had a day of things that I was going to do, including meeting my old boss, who is now a vice president with my company, for lunch. So driving there, I half expected to get a phone call from Joe on the way to lunch. And I was listening to something that he had requested that I listen to. So I was hoping he didn't call me. Not that I don't want to hear the dulcet tones of Joe Betance, but I also wanted to listen to what it was, this track that he was sending me. So then he starts texting me all through lunch.
That's my new album.
The new album that's dropping next week. And then I realized that I was late for work to get back to work, even though I was with my boss's boss's boss. But I had to drive back to work, only to find out in the middle of this hot box that I was staying in for work that we are getting a surprise audit tomorrow, and I had to pull a bunch of charts and make sure the charts were done, all that kind of stuff. So heat plus anxiety equals exhaustion. Came home, threw my bag on the couch, watched Untucked, had dinner with my partner, and was just relaxing, to completely forgetting that my phone is in the other room and that Joe had sent me a series of text messages during the day that I forgot to respond to. So he felt the need to reach out to other people to make sure that I was, in fact, still alive. And then we started taping the show for all of you wonderful people who support us. And thank you.
Not only are we being judged also on our performance in the musical, do we think that we are also judged based on our looks down the runway, or that doesn't matter?
Yeah, so we're all looking at you, Mama. What you think?
Go on, defend, baby.
I'm curious, were you ready to defend this?
What?
Were you ready to defend this?
I mean, this is my drag.
So this is the part you were talking about, Taylor, right?
Yeah. Yeah, just the way that she asked that, it wasn't like a "I'm coming for you." It's just a, let's talk about it. Let's just talk about it because I'm curious.
Okay.
And I like that.
It's like, I will not put on a dress and just be a pretty girl.
Here's what I like about you, though. It's organized chaos. Like, it makes sense.
Bitch, anybody that comes down the runway looking like that, thinking that that's Tony Awards, I want to get into your brain. So what's going on? Milk needs to step up her game a little bit in terms of becoming more versatile. This is a drag competition, sweetie. And for those of us that didn't know, now you know.
Yes.
Okay, this is a very telling statement that leads into part 2 of this conversation, is of all of the queens there, I would argue that Milk is the most versatile. Milk does give different looks. And Gia saying that, it is an ignorant statement because Gia serves nothing but fish. That is her thing. She has stated that in the first 4 episodes. She is the bang bang gun or whatever the fuck she calls herself.
I am the boom boom gun.
Serves. Is it the boom boom?
Yeah, I am the boom boom. I don't jump the gun. I am the boom boom gun.
Yeah. So to make that statement is ridiculous. Thank you very much.
We're going to get to the ignorant part in a second, but she is being very ignorant. And the fact that it is ironic that she's ignorant of what the word ignorant means.
Yeah.
Definitely out there, but if I were going to the Tony Awards, I'd be that crazy bitch.
Right.
I wouldn't
Bullshit.
necessarily be that girl in the mermaid dress.
And let me tell you, honey, I'm sorry, but drag means dressing up as girls.
This shows their perspective that it's a fishy, that they hold fishy in the highest regard.
Yeah.
I don't see femininity. Clearly I'm on the 10 and she's on the 1, but
Oh shit, here we go again.
Anything you want to say there? I'm just going to stop at intermittent points. No,
other than the fact that they love the shade button this season.
They're just
there's just somebody literally just sitting with the I mean, where they're just hitting it all the time with everything everybody's saying.
Yeah.
You're ignorant. I'm sorry. It's ignorant.
Oh, ignorant now. Okay, well, ignorant would be me not wanting to better educate myself.
Well, educate yourself.
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking her, but she thinks.
You know, you're reading her. You're not
I'm
asking
not reading her.
Anywho.
You should have been ready for that hair, but you weren't. Back to you, mommy. Back to you.
Now, I'm a big Gia Gunn fan this season, but she's being super cunty and super ignorant this season, well, in this episode. And she is being ignorant. She's saying, your drag aesthetic is not one that I like, and therefore you're wrong. And that you have to be fishy and you have to be feminine to do drag. And that's not true. But at this stage in Drag Race, like again, I think at this stage in Drag Race, that was true. We were still in a very fishy...
That was true. And what we know now about Gia and Gia transitioning to being a woman, I'm wondering if we are, I don't know if it's put off, if we're intimidated, if it speaks against what she was going through internally. I would be surprised. I wouldn't be, we don't like in others what we see in ourselves, and what we see in front of us is somebody that in her mind, looks like a dude in a dress. And that may be why she's having this visceral reaction, because it's so important to her that she have that beautiful feminine aesthetic, that this kind of slaps in the face this kind of mocks what she feels to be her true identity, her true self.
Yeah, you're right. I think that's an excellent point, Taylor. That's an excellent point. I wonder what she was feeling during the she-male or female mini challenge she was in, Like, was she going like, oh, I don't want them to know? Or like, the show was kind of mean to trans people for a long time. So, all right, let's move on.
Because now I'm ignorant, so I'm listening. Oh, God, girl.
Oh. She is just sounding so ignorant. She just doesn't get it. She is being ignorant. Maybe she isn't ignorant in general, but in that moment, she was being ignorant.
Saying somebody is ignorant is being like, you're fucking the scum of the earth, and you're where I come from, you might as well call me a dumbass bitch, because you calling me ignorant is the biggest fucking insult to me ever.
Okay, but she just literally read Milk to filth. But yet, someone saying she's ignorant, you're insulting her.
Yes, but she got called on it. She got called on it in a way. I kind of loved Jocelyn during this moment. And I forgot how much I liked her as a queen. And that she stood up for Milk. And she did it in a way where she goes, you're being ignorant. It wasn't, it could have gotten really ugly. And she never necessarily got ugly with her. She just kind of stated for the record, look, knock it off. This is why I don't like Gia Gunn. I just don't like her at all. Thank you.
You're welcome. I wasn't
How
labeling
weird.
you as ignorant. I was just saying that in this, you were acting ignorant, that her drag was so different you need to get into her mind. You were putting her at a level below you that you need to get into her mind because her drag was just so way off that you really need to figure it out.
Well, honey, just because nobody's interested in your style because it looks like it came from the fucking quinceañera store doesn't necessarily mean that I can't get into her mind. Okay. Does that make sense? Bitch, are you fucking kidding me right now? You look like a fucking dumpster.
I'm not trying to read you. I'm just trying to stick up for her because I don't think she needs to be read for her look.
But the
like
thing
it's
is
that far
if
different.
she felt read by me, I think she would tell me. She obviously has big balls, honey. She would tell me, right?
Sometimes, you probably know this, the way you can come across is very, just like, somewhat elitist. Gia is very one-sided with her idea of drag. I could go off on the number of things that she needs to fix, but I'd rather not.
And that's the end of that clip. You know what's funny is I don't think Jocelyn's drag is that different from Gia's drag.
It's not. That's another where they pretty much are. They have the same hair in this, and they are very similar. So for her to come at her for that, it just shows the statements that were made as far as, you know, she looks like a dumpster, and if I would have come for you for your hair or something like that, they should have read you for this. It's somebody who's been backed into a corner. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what that looks like, where they said something and they recognize when they're called ignorant, whether she understands what the word ignorant means or not, that she's on the losing team at this point. Nobody is coming up behind Gia, with the exception of Laganja occasionally clucking and hooting behind her. Nobody is coming to Gia's defense. They're all kind of saying, now, wait a minute, knock it off. And so we're going to lash out at other people. And that's what I get from this, is that the bully had the tables turned on her to some degree.
Yeah. All right. Well, do you have anything else to say on the Milk Untucked moment there?
No. All
right. Now we're going to go to the big moment of Untucked on the season. Now, do you want to guess how long this clip is?
This clip has got to be longer. This clip, I would say this clip is probably 5 minutes long.
Well, here's the deal, and maybe this might why your judgment is clouded here. I didn't include the video of the parents saying anything to Laganja. So what happens on Untucked is they go to the gold bar, and they have a pink furry box. And in the pink furry box is a message that says, it's a line from Sissy That Walk, but it's about flying. And they say bird, and they mean Laganja. And which a weird moment on Untucked is Gia reads it, then they go to commercial. When they come back, like, Jocelyn reads it. It's really, really weird. So
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I noticed it today. So they read this note, and then the video of the parents comes up on the TV screen, and it's Laganja's parents, which, let's have your psychology. I didn't put the video in, but the parents are pretty much saying, like, congratulations. You get the sense that they weren't happy with her doing drag, but they're generally supportive, right. And she's kind of stone-faced during it, wouldn't you say?
I noticed the stone face. That was something that she seemed to shut down. She seemed to where I don't get why. I don't get why if you suddenly see your parents, with the exception unless there's been a lot of tension about drag. As she mentioned, she goes, they're not, they've always supported me, but the drag was too much. Like, that was a level of too much. So, but the fact that they were saying such positive things as far as that, you know, where if you have somebody as many, you know, we have many LGBT listeners, and that coming out process is very, very difficult for whether you're gay, whether you're trans, whether you're, I do drag, whatever it is that you're doing. But when you have parents that say, we've been doing a lot of research on RuPaul's Drag Race and we want to see you get the crown and all that kind of stuff, I take that as a positive. That would be something that would say, I'm trying, I'm reaching out to you. I don't understand it, but I'm trying to understand better. They did the proper way to handle it rather than the way Gia did it with Milk.
Yeah, and so I started the audio right where the video ends, and I think that's an important place to start it, rather than what one would think where you would start it. I thought it was important to have the run up. Okay, so here we go.
Girl, you've never looked better.
That's so sweet.
Bianca just said that.
I'm so excited and happy and overwhelmed. I never thought in a million years that I would get a message from them.
Was it just your home life, or was it religion, or was it, is it a gay thing? Is it a drag thing?
They've always been, 100% supportive of everything I do.
Okay.
I think that's
so great.
The drag thing was, just
a little too much.
The final too much for them.
You've come a long way, obviously, and they obviously
so have they.
are meeting you at a very good point.
I just can't wait to make them proud, and I really have an extra boost of energy, and I'm just going to push forward, and I am going to come home America's Next Drag Superstar.
I think your parents are absolutely lovely, and the fact that they're making an effort is good. The only thing I disagree with is that they think you're going to win.
Okay, it's an important joke that she made. That joke is what starts everything, is that joke. And especially I didn't realize the clip before she says, I'm going to come home America's Next Drag Superstar, and then they put that joke in. And this, if you've never seen this Untucked, this is where all the shit goes down.
So, I'm kidding.
And she says, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Does everyone's family accept the whole drag thing?
How about you, Bianca?
Okay, it's fine. I mean, I'm the 4th out of 5.
And you can
I'm
tell
the
she's
oldest
being
boy.
shit-faced.
So,
and this is uncomfortable.
Is, by the time I came along.
How about you, Milk?
It's an okay situation.
This tension is what I feel every time I do a show with Taylor.
She's just like, don't tell your father.
How are they going to feel about now that their son is pregnant?
How did I feel about you being a pregnant drag queen?
And then like a horror thing where
right. All slow motion.
Here it comes. And they're all like, oh God, here it comes.
I mean, the importance of this is not the other girls jumping on my coattails and taking this moment for themselves. What's important in this moment is me.
The confessional.
I do think it's kind of fucked up how you guys are making a joke of it and saying shady things, because this was my moment. It isn't a joke to me. This is real, and this is my life, and this is something I've waited 24 years for. And for you guys to be up here talking about, well, you're not the winner and you're not this, that's not what's important. What's important is that this is my family moment, and that's what we should have talked about. This is really special, and I do feel hurt that you guys would take advantage of this moment for yourselves.
But they did talk about it.
And, ladies.
What I was saying was I was lightening the mood because it seemed like you were upset about it. I apologize if you took it the wrong way. You sat there, you were very reserved, and I was giving you a second.
Because you guys were talking over me, and because it was about
talking over you.
You were isn't a kiki me
and I
as
apologize if you're hurt.
We also have to understand that's Bianca's character, and we all have to accept that.
But that's what I'm saying. This wasn't a moment for us to be characters. This was a moment for you guys to be real people and to say, I'm so glad, Jay, you got this moment.
Did I not
I
just say
didn't
that?
feel that way.
Okay. I apologize. I'm sure Jocelyn apologized too.
It's just you have to realize, this is something I've waited my whole life for, because this was about me, and this was about me spreading my wings, and goddammit, I will spread my wings. So say what you motherfuckers want, but I am the bird that they want me to be.
All right, Taylor, your thoughts.
I have so many thoughts and no thoughts at all. It's the level of narcissism. And I know this is something where occasionally Bianca will just shout out in shows and stuff, that was my moment. And so it's the level of narcissism is just amazing to me, that at some point I can't, it's like you kind of want to diagnose her, but you don't want to diagnose her all at the same time. I mean, there's definitely some narcissism going on there. I guess the thing that, again, I'm drawn to in this thing, one moment in particular, which unfortunately we have video, but at one point when they're all where they're all talking and everything, which also doesn't sound like we're all going to try to talk over her or we're going to kind of shut her out. We're all having a conversation that was generated from this moment with Laganja and her parents. And at one point they show a scene where Laganja does this weird where she turns her head really fast and like sneers at somebody, kind of like a little kid would do. That just seems so fake to me. And so I don't get it. I don't get why you would do something like that. And then at one point where they say, it seemed tense. We made a joke. You weren't doing anything, so we moved on. But she's like, but we needed to talk more about me. There's something so immature about that. There is something so middle school about that, and that we're so self-centered. And I guess this may be kind of the place, we talked about this being a turning point for the season, and they're starting to recognize in Tucked, these were very common to have the videos from home. And I think that she was thinking that it was going to be something else than it actually was. And obviously, and that was the thing that she was so pissed off about, is because it wasn't so much that I had this moment with my parents. It's that you took away from my moment on television with my parents. And you took away from the fact that I was going to get to have the big mascara tear run down my face and just talk about how happy I was. But because I was dealing with whatever emotional thing I was going through, I missed that opportunity. And Bianca took it. Bianca took a chance, made a joke, everybody laughed, and they moved on. And that's what pisses off Laganja, and that's what pisses me off about this moment. It's just, it's again, it's a very important moment for this season, as we'll see in a later Untucked, but it's ugly. And it's not necessarily the other queens that are being ugly. It's also important to note, I've had like 5 thoughts going in my head. This is clearly, the editing in this section is horrible. The editing of how they kind of mix the conversation together and the thing with the music. And this is the only time that they ever do the slow motion laugh, like the horror thing laugh thing. That's just so like, okay, we get it. She's pissed. She feels neglected. You don't need to hit us over the head with it. So it's a great moment and an ugly moment all at the same time. What are your thoughts? Because I've been talking for about as long as that. What do you call it? Was
I love it, but it's just, I just love the sheer histrionics of it all, and I haven't analyzed it to the point that you have analyzed it. That's an interesting point that you thought it would be something else, and I think it touches on, she's seen that every queen gets one something. They get their quote unquote moment. I think that's what she's talking about. I think you're right, that this was for the season her moment, and that it wasn't given the attention she thought it should be given. And I think she thought that they would all be applauding her and like saying, you go girl, you are going to win it. But it reminds me of Alexis Michelle in season 9, when I think someone calls her out on it, and when they're like, where she's like, you should have told me that, I shouldn't have worn that dress. And they're like, we're in this competition too. Like, yeah, why would you think that we would help you in a competition that we're competing against you in?
And it's also important to note, going back to Bianca, this is another example that I was talking about with Bianca, where Bianca could have read her to filth when she started freaking out, and she didn't. She kind of apologized, because she said, I'm sorry your feelings were hurt, which is kind of a way of saying, I'm sorry, but go fuck yourself. But
I've talked about that before. Hold on. I've talked about that before. Like, because there's been times where I feel people get mad at something. I don't regret saying it, but they get mad, and I feel bad that they are like, not to harken back to last week's episode or whatever, but Cameron and I had a huge blowout last November, and I said something that I won't repeat it. I said something very, very, very cruel to him. Okay. here's the thing. I think that truth, as cruel as it was, needed to be spoken to him. And I don't think anyone had ever said it. And I don't regret saying it. It came from what I was feeling at that moment. And I think it was a mean thing about how he behaves, you know? Mm-hmm. But he felt awful afterwards. And I felt awful that he felt awful. So why is that non-apology? Because I am sorry that he feels that way. Unfortunately, it's the truth. But why if someone thinks an apology is warranted, why do you think, automatically they deserve that apology?
I guess it's not necessarily how the apology is, but how the apology is said. And I'm also looking at it as Bianca, where I think Bianca she doesn't apologize for who she is, but she in this way, she kind of apologized because she hurt somebody's feelings, but she's not going to apologize for saying something.
So that's a good point, because I would agree with Bianca here. I don't think Bianca said anything wrong. I think what she said was in the total realm of this show. You know, that
yes, it's something that we have all done when the moment is too tense. Yeah. That I had something like that happen about 2 hours ago, where things were a little too tense with somebody in my life, and because I couldn't take it anymore, I threw a zinger out there, and it's normal. And I think her explanation of that was something like, it was feeling tense. You looked like you were upset. I was trying to make the room laugh, and I would say that hopefully. I don't think that she was gunning for Laganja. I think she was hoping that when she said that, Laganja would laugh. And then it kind of took this 180 that turned into, the expressway to Crazy Town, and she wasn't sure, she wasn't sure what the hell happened.
But my point is, what is the correct thing to do in that situation where I don't feel Bianca said anything wrong, but she genuinely feels badly that Laganja is taking it that way? What do you say?
I would say it maybe in a way that says, I was trying to make a joke. It was not my intention to hurt your feelings, and for that, I am sorry. That sounds a little better than I'm sorry if it hurt your feelings. Because a lot of times when we've had people that said, I'm sorry it hurt your feelings, that usually is the lead into a but. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm sorry if that hurt your feelings, but you need to understand blah, 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 blah. So I think that maybe kind of saying it in a way, it might just be semantics at this point, but when I've done things like that before and I've recognized that I've hurt somebody's feelings, or I just say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It was not my intention to hurt your feelings. I am sorry.
Okay. Moving on. God, I'm going to love editing this episode. All right. Back on the main stage, April and Trinity were in the bottom two and forced to lip sync for their lives. The song, I'm Every Woman by Shaka Khan. The girls both did an amazing job, but in the end, April Carry-On was asked to sashay away. Back in the workroom, she had a heartfelt goodbye message.
I gave my all. I know Ru saw my effort and just my passion. I wish I could have gone further and just brought that crown to Puerto Rico, but this can only make me stronger.
Taylor, any final thoughts on the episode?
I will miss April Carry-On. Because she's so cute.
She is so cute.
But it's a great episode. It's really... You talked about how much you liked episode 3 of this season. I really like this episode. I really, really like this episode. And it makes me excited because I know they get better as the season goes on. That I think we did right by talking season 6. I think we made a good choice.
You know what I'm realizing is... And it's one of these things where I think... I'll have to rewatch season 5... But I believe, this is my guess, that season 6 might be the exception that proves the norm. It's the template that everything is held up against now. Because it's just so far, an exceptional season so far. Every episode has been a home run. But I think that might be the exception. I don't remember season 5 as well. But I have seen several times I have started season 4. And season 4, I haven't done that with season 5. But season 4 is a little rough in the beginning. You have your Party City moments and whatnot. But it's not the season's not as strong as people remember.
I think part of it with this, and I'm also speaking generally as to how I remember it, and I may be way off at this point, but... Other seasons, especially season 5, the thing I remember most about season 5 is the drama. the Jinx versus Roxy and the whole Alaska Talks thing.
Yeah.
Whereas, and even with season 4, you kind of remember it's the drama, it's all the workroom stuff. Whereas with season 6, it seems like it's a lot more about the challenges and the runway looks and that kind of stuff. It is more focused on the talent, and I think that's why it's better.
I think what you're seeing is just it's a perfect mix. The writing was on point, the looks were on point, the queens were on point, the challenges were on point, and that's not going to happen every season. I think it's just an unusual thing for season 6 because we'll see, but there hasn't been a bad episode yet, and we're in the beginning. Yeah. That's when you expect the shitty episodes.
Yeah,
because then
cut to next week when we go, well, this was the worst episode of season 6.
Well, next week is Snatch Game.
Oh, okay. Then
that one's good. And then, as I've said before, the rule is after Snatch Game when the show gets good.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But so far, they've all been 10s, 9s or 10s episodes. Yeah, that's sort of crazy. I don't have any final thoughts. I was talking to someone today about the episode who knows a lot about Drag Race, and he was saying this is the first episode, but now that we've talked about it, the only episode where they made the girls really, really work really, really hard. Up until this point, they had never put on a musical. They'd had the singing challenges, with Can I Get an Amen? But they had never done a musical, and this is where they had to sing, dance. It's the biggest production at this point for the show. And I think what they realized, it was almost kind of like the cheerleading challenge, where they'll never do the cheerleading challenge again. They've never had a singing challenge like this again. The girls lip sync it now.
Yeah.
So they have to lip sync and do the choreography and do the looks and all that jazz and the acting. But this is one of the probably hardest challenges the girls have had to do in terms of combining everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they still have singing challenges, right? Were there any other singing challenges?
I don't think there were singing challenges.
There have been rapping ones. The 9 had a rapping one.
The 9 had a rapping one. The All Stars had Read You, Wrote You. Did 8 have one?
I don't remember. I have the worst memory.
I keep getting 8 and 9 mixed up in my head. I totally forget there was season 9.
We just did season 9.
I know, but in my head, season 9 is Bob's season.
No, it's Sasha Velour.
Yeah.
You were there.
That's not a good sign. I know. That's not a good sign for years from now when I go, who won season 9? But,
yeah, I know. And they're starting All Stars 3 in January. In season 10 right after that. Thanks, Sasha.
I'm going to see Sasha Velour in a couple weeks.
Oh, yeah. You excited about that?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen any of the Drag Race queens in person?
I've seen Latrice. I've seen Latrice Royale. And I don't think I told you about this because we were off. Maybe we were off season. I don't know.
Everyone, I'm not allowed to talk to Taylor during the off season.
Exactly. I block his phone until a day before I know we're going to start taping season 6.
You've heard him say it. Heard him say, I was going to go to lunch with my boss, and Joe was texting me, and I blocked him.
No, that's not what I said.
It's going to be after I edit it. It will.
You were calling. So, okay, I was standing in line for the Country Bear Jamboree at Gay Days this year. Insert joke here. And Coco Montrese was standing next to the line of all these big bear guys in full drag with full Dorito makeup on. She looked really good. She was standing taking pictures with people, and by the time I got my phone all set up and everything, the line was moving too fast. Because when you think of big fat guys in the heat, we all run places. Yeah. But I didn't. And by the time I got my phone set up on my camera, or my camera set up on my phone, she had already walked away. But so technically, I've seen 2. But I've seen Latrice perform, and she did Gladys Knight doing "If You Don't Know Me by Now" with a complete intro in the beginning. That was amazing. I remember that.
So are you excited for this? Then this will be your first. You're because when you saw Latrice, I imagine before you started talking about her.
Oh yeah, no. This was maybe season 5, or it might have been around season 6.
Oh, okay.
And I will say this: I was about a foot away from her while she was performing, and she's amazing. But this will be the first time I've seen a whole show with. I think there's 6 of them. I'm not.
Will
sure.
it be weird for you when you're like, I've been talking about you guys?
I know, right? Yeah, but I don't think they're going to let me near them. We didn't get the ultra VIP. Wristband.
No, I'm not saying that you say that to them. I'm just saying when you'd be thinking that when you're like, oh my God, I was talking about Trinity Taylor every fucking week.
More importantly, will they know that I've been talking about them? Because maybe they listen to Drag Race Recap and they know that Taylor lives in Tampa And I think I mentioned on one of the last season 9 shows that I bought tickets, so they'll think somewhere out there in the dark, there's been a man who's ripped me to shreds on a podcast.
Is Eureka on this? Well, no, because they're filming season 10 as we speak, so she's not going to be there.
Eureka has been with some of the tour, but she is not with this one. I want to say it's Trinity, Eureka, Alexis, Aja, I think. Peppermint's not part of it, because that was the one that I was going to go apeshit if Peppermint was part of it. There's somebody, I don't remember who else.
Now, they often do a Q&A during the show. Are you going to ask any questions?
Do you want me to ask a question?
No, I don't have any questions for them.
I wasn't going to. I mean,
who's going to be there again?
Let me look it up.
Sasha, I've interviewed, so no questions.
What is it?
Work the World, isn't it?
Catwalk.
Battle on the Catwalk, or no.
Battle on the Catwalk.
No, there's like the Catwalk one, there's the Battle on the Runway, and then there's the... No, wait, is it... I don't remember. There's so many different ones now.
Aja, Alexis Michelle, Eureka's Pheromone, Kimora Black. I want to say Shay. Shay Coulee is part of it.
I've interviewed most of those people already. I have no interest.
Okay.
But ask a question.
Great.
Maybe we'll talk about it on this show.
Maybe. But no one will know except for our wonderful listeners.
Yeah, our wonderful listeners, people who listen to this season. Well, that concludes this week's episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Recap. Join us next week and every week as we dissect, discuss, and deconstruct each episode during this very special season of RuPaul's Drag Race Recap. So, for Taylor the Latte Boy and myself,
sashay away until next week.
RuPaul's Drag Race Recap is an Afterthought Media podcast. To learn more about Afterthought Media, visit afterthought.media. To support us on Patreon and to gain access to our other shows, please visit us at patreon.com/dragracerecap. For a small monthly fee, you gain access to hours of bonus content weekly, frequent live shows, and access to our extensive back catalog. To contact the show, email us at dragracerecap@gmail.com. Follow the show on Instagram and Twitter at Drag Race Recap, and follow the show on Facebook at facebook.com/dragracerecap. You can find Taylor the Latte Boy on his other podcast called Pod Is My Co-Pilot, available at podismycopilot.com and everywhere you get your podcasts. You can also follow Taylor on Twitter at PIMCTaylor and on Instagram at PIMCTaylor. Joe Betance is the host of many other podcasts, and you can find those podcasts at afterthought.media or at patreon.com/dragracerecap. You can follow Joe Betance on Twitter and Instagram at Joe Betance, that's JoeBetance. This episode was recorded in the summer or fall of 2017 and originally released on Patreon.